Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This week we're going to debunk some MGTOW talking points. Last week I made a video on MGTOW, my thoughts on it, and I got a lot of interesting, spirited feedback, which I do appreciate, even maybe the comments that weren't so coherent. I appreciate it all. And so this week I'm going to go through some of those comments, just some MGTOW talking points in general. MGTOW is men who go their own way, men who are actively forsaking relationships with women to varying degrees. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not MGTOW, so what does it matter? Well, even if you're not MGTOW, I do think that this matters. I do think that the error that MGTOW commits, it's not an error so much, it's just a way of looking at the information. What's going on with MGTOW is going on with society in general. Like the flat earthers, we can look at the flat earthers and go, oh, look at they're so silly. It's just a small segment of the population. What does it matter? Why even talk about it? But I think that the error that they're committing is indicative of a larger problem in our culture. And I think we all commit that error to some degree. We'll get into it. But it's not a factual error. That's the thing. It's an error of interpretation. I think this comes down to how we regulate our emotions. So the first talking point to debunk here is that women represent a significant liability, a legal liability, a financial liability. And to this I say, of course, I agree. Of course they represent a liability. Everything that's worth doing in life, anything that's worth engaging with in your life represents some kind of liability. Read 3.5 pages of Ovid, Roman myth, Greek myth. It's all about, hey, women are trouble. Of course they're trouble. Of course it's a liability. But does that mean that you actively disengage from them? Or do you learn about women? Do you learn about relationships? Do you learn, most importantly, about yourself so you can really bring a lot of awareness to this life, so women are much less likely to ruin your life or be a succubus, right? That's the archetype. That's why I brought up last week witches. Feminists aren't new. MGTOW aren't new. That this is just the next iteration of something that society has been dealing with for a long time. A certain segment of the population just disavows the opposite sex. I disavow the opposite sex, just chooses not to engage with it, and then takes all their issues and puts them on them. We'll get to it. But yeah, of course it's a liability. But that doesn't mean, buying a house is a liability. Having a dog is a liability. Buying clothes is a liability. Does that mean that you just not engage with it? No. I think we have to learn how these things work, and I was trying to empathize or sympathize with what MGTOW are going through, because you go out on the internet to learn how to interact with the world in a better way, and all you get is stoicism, which just makes it worse. And of course MGTOW is stoicism in action. Next talking point: if you marry a girl and she has sex with another man and gets pregnant, you're legally and financially liable for that kid who isn't yours. Now I looked this up. Now, granted, I didn't do that much research, maybe 15, 20 minutes. I came across a few cases like this. And in every case where the man was made financially liable for this children that wasn't his, he wanted it. The man actively accepted it. If your wife goes, and it was when they were separated, they're still married, but they're separated. The wife went out, not cheated, maybe because they were separated. I don't know, however you define cheating. And she had the kid, and he's like, okay, I'll take on responsibility. But nowhere did I see, and I saw a few lawyers write about this specifically, nowhere did I see that if the child isn't yours, you have to take care of it. Wasn't that the whole point of Jerry Springer? This guy's feeling relieved that the child wasn't theirs, so they didn't have to take care of it and take care of the womb. That was the whole point. But look, maybe you could find some case where the guy, some poor schlub, was forced by the court to take care of this kid that wasn't his. But there are ways around that. There are ways of dealing with that, and we'll get into it. I understand the legal system is a mess to some degree, but there's things you can do to work with it. It doesn't mean you just disengage from the whole thing. And then the other talking point: high divorce rate. 70% of all divorces are filed by the wife. Yeah, there are. there's definite pitfalls in marriage. But again, does that mean you actively disengage? I mean, 30%, 70% of businesses fail after 10 years. Do you not start a business because you go, oh, well, chances are we're going to fail? Or do you go, 70% of businesses fail after 10 years. Okay, well, what's common about the businesses that are doing well? What's common about the businesses that make a huge profit? What's the CEO like? What's his partner like? Who did the CEO need to become to build the business to that level? How did he find a partner, right? I mean, is this analogy carrying? What kind of product do they offer? What kind of services? Is there a book they read? Or is there a good book on business I could read? Now, this doesn't take it down to a 100% success rate, but you can definitely turn the tables in your favor when you just learn about the process. And this is all I encourage guys who are MGTOW, which I don't think is a bad thing to do. In perpetuity, it may be less than helpful, but just but in the short term, it can be helpful. All I encourage you to do is just keep going. You're doing the MGTOW thing. You're going monk mode to improve yourself. Another aspect of improving yourself is going to begin to be, I think, engaging more with women, engaging more with who you are to engage more with women. That's what's going on. And there's great resources out there on how to do this. I mean, I went through this process, right? So I know what you guys are going through. I was, I guess, de facto MGTOW for a while because I was working on myself. I didn't think I was ready for a relationship, and that was probably helpful for me to go through. But then I had to realize, geez, part of the reason why I'm avoiding women here is because I'm afraid with them. And afraid of them. So I go out and start talking to women, and it brought up a bunch of issues for me. And I thought the key was, well, I just have to learn about women. Once I learn about women, then I'll, be successful with women, which is kind of true. I mean, you learn more about women and you do get more women into your life, but that doesn't create a good relationship with women. So then you go through the thing, okay, I'm going to learn about relationships. Well, that doesn't really work. Eventually it comes down to, I got to learn about myself. I got to learn how my own psychology works. I need to learn how to relate with myself. That was the process I went through. And part of what I do here with Animus is just try to communicate how to communicate with yourself in the best way possible. Not telling you what to do, but just showing you how your psychology works. So you can take these tools and build up your psychology from which you can create an identity. You take that identity out into the world. And yeah, there's going to be problems with women, of course. They're going to be a liability, just like you're a liability to them. I mean, reaching out and essentially being in a relationship is in a part saying, I need you in my life. That's difficult. But there's a way to look at your psychology. There's a way to build up your psychology to make that process just a lot easier and to make the resulting relationship a lot stronger. And you're not going to get that if you just go into monk mode for the rest of your life. For a few years, that may be helpful. But for the rest of your life, maybe not so much. Okay, next talking point. I mean, this one, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm not prepared to really debunk this one, but the one that says women don't bring benefit to your life. All I would say to that is learn how to communicate. I think women can be I understand. I mean, women can be overwhelming if you can't communicate with them. If you can't feel like you can get through, if you don't feel like you're on the same page, then yeah, a woman wouldn't bring any benefit to your life. But I think that's a function of you and your communication. And your communication, I would argue, is a function of your psychology. How well you build that up. Tons of resources here at enemisempire.com to explicate that exact process. I mean, we explicate that process to such an extent that nobody else in the mental health field even comes close to. So animusempire.com/schedule. If you'd like to set up a free consultation, I can explain to you what we do and how I can help you. Next talking point, women age 18 to 28 are not interested in marriage and family. I mean, to this, I would say, where do you go to meet women? What kind of women do you meet? I mean, I understand that women 18 to 28 present like they don't want marriage and family because saying that out loud makes them very vulnerable. It makes them feel very insecure. And that's what feminism is, to a large extent, is a projection to guard. It's a defense against that deep insecurity that we all feel, which I would argue MGTOW is a similar kind of defense against that. Whoa, there's this area of our life that's insecure, and I'm not saying it's insecure for MGTOW guys, it's insecure for everybody. It brings up a lot of issues for us. So what's helpful to do, or what seems helpful to do, opportunistic to do in the short term, is to just project out this worldview, either feminism or MGTOW, and we'll get to the difference between MGTOW and feminism. And you just say, oh, this is what I want to do. I'm just going to go my own way, or I'm going to, go get a bunch of degrees and become a lawyer and be my own woman. I don't need no man. It's the same kind of defense against this insecurity. I know it's like, when men bring up this issue, they say, well, some women just want, maybe 3% of women just want a career and they're not interested in family at all. I haven't seen that. The biggest issue, the biggest concern for women in the West is, how do I find a guy who I can trust so I can build what I really want, a family, children, healthy relationships, a strong community. This is what I really want. I don't feel like I can find that, so I'm going to go do the 10 graduate degree thing and go be a lawyer. I'm going to go do all that as a defense against that. That's what's really going on. Now, I understand women, that's how it's presented, but that's not what's really going on. And all I ask you is, where do you go to meet women? How do you go about this? I mean, part of your obligation, your responsibility as a man is, you're the one with the testosterone. You're the one who needs to bear the risk in the beginning of the relationship to broach this connection with women. It's very important that you get clear about the kind of woman you want. Well, first you got to get clear about who you are, and if you're avoiding emotions and monk mode, that's probably not going to happen. First, you got to get clear about the kind of woman who you want by first getting clear about what you are and what you want. And then you need to actively go out and seek these women out and find them. It's interesting, just in my life. It's funny, isn't it? When I became less interested in partying and drinking and going to bars, I started to meet, just all of a sudden, what a coincidence, I started to meet women who are less interested in that and more interested in, what you say, marriage and family. Women today, another talking point, women today are deeply resentful of obligation, responsibility, and accountability. Now, I mean, this is just a clear projection of what MGTOW is resentful of. You're resentful of the obligation. You're resentful of the responsibility, of the accountability that you need to bring to a relationship with women in a society that you see as inherently corrupt and not worthy of it. You are the ones who are resentful of it. Now, women are resentful of it too, I think. But what comes first? Both men and women are resentful about the obligation and accountability that they both need to bring to a relationship. Well, it's got to start somewhere. And men are the leaders in this. Do I need to bring out a biology chart to show you exactly why? Marriage is a bad investment, underwhelming benefits for men. Yeah, marriage is a bad investment, I agree. And all the facts about it, you guys are correct. And I guess this is a good time to bring it up, and this is what a lot of people do. I mean, this is the foundation of a lot of narcissism, is just focusing on the facts that you know are correct, while completely ignoring 90% of the other facts that give context for the facts that you're right about, and using your resentment to just focus on these. I mean, I tried watching some of these MGTOW channels, and it just feels to me like resentment porn. Oh, look at what this one short-haired feminist woman did to this one guy and all this torture he put him through, and I'm just going to focus on this for 16 minutes. But what's interesting about that is, you're right. That does happen. That did happen. The facts of that situation are right. Just like the flat earthers. I bet 95% of you watching, go watch a flat earther video. You do not have the intellectual, scientific wherewithal to debunk what they're saying. But what do flat earthers do? They focus on these 3 facts that they know are right, and they completely ignore 95% of contradictory information. And then they get resentful. There's a lot of anxiety around this, that people are lying to us, deep state conspiracy theories, and it really begins to feel real. And it's tricky, especially when the facts are right. And this is where I think you're right, but this is why we have prenuptial agreements. Now I know you're gonna point me to a case where a prenuptial agreement was thrown out. That's because the prenuptial agreement was worded poorly, or it was unclear, or it wasn't sure about what this line meant. So what do? You go to Google and they tell you, look, if you're concerned about finances in your marriage, here's exactly how you word it in the prenup. If you're concerned about your wife cheating on you and raising a kid that isn't yours or being financially obligated towards them, here's exactly how you word it. There's a solution to this. I know you resent me for telling you that there's a solution, because what I'm doing now is just disabusing all this resentment that makes you feel so important. And I'll just end with this because it's going kind of long. Whether MGTOWs are feminists, feminists have political aspirations, MGTOWs don't, well, great. I don't care. This isn't a political channel. Officially, I have no political view one way or another. This is a psychology channel. And I do know that MGTOWs and feminists are the same psychologically. They take all their issues that they're not ready to take responsibility for and project it out onto the other, on the other sex, on the other gender, and say, oh, they're the ones not doing it. Not realizing that by doing that thing, you are exactly like that thing who you supposedly revile. You know what's the ironic or paradox about this is, all you MGTOW guys out there, you're not going to like this, but a great relationship for you, a woman who you're going to connect with, is a woman who is a feminist and has worked through the issues of her feminism to realize that men aren't the problem. It's really her issues with herself that is the problem. You're going to work through that same process, and as you resolve your MGTOW-ness, a woman's going to resolve her feminism and all the issues that she has around there. And that's, probably going to be the most difficult barrier to get through when relating with women, is realizing that probably the woman who's going to be the best for you is the one who right now you the most despise. But again, that's just a reflection of the issues that you have with yourself, and I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sure this will get some interesting comments. Maybe some of you won't listen, but I do think there is a small percentage of you out there who are listening, and so that's who I'm speaking to. Like and subscribe. And as always, if you have an issue with women, it's first important to look inward and realize that the issue may be with you.